This is one of my favourite features on my Obsidian Vault. It is my source index where I've collected all my reading notes I've made over the past 3 years of my degree into one Obsidian base. In this video, I'm going to be giving you a step-by-step tutorial on how to create your own sources index using the Obsidian base feature. This index updates automatically with your Obsidian Vault, and it can also be filtered and prioritized depending on what you want to see in your index. This tutorial does not require any complicated coding or any plugins that you need to install. This tutorial is made completely using the Obsidian base feature, and I'm quite a beginner when it comes to Obsidian bases, and I found this relatively intuitive to make. Without further ado, let's just get into the tutorial. This is my sources index that I use to provide an overview of my readings. Through using properties for each file shown on the top here, I can see various information that I've saved about each note. For example, the author, the year it was published, any related ideas, events, concepts, the region, whether I've read it or not. An Obsidian base can be completely personalized and customizable, which is what makes it so great. So for any purpose that you want it to be used for, it really can adapt to that challenge. To create a new base, we're going to use this side panel over here. If you hover over each of the little icons, it'll tell you what it's for. So we want to go down to this icon that says create a new base. Click on that and we get an untitled base. You can think of this base as a total list of everything you have ever taken a note of in alphabetical order. So this could be useful, but for the purpose of this video, we're going to be creating an index. You might want to be using this for your reading notes, your essay notes, your concept notes, a particular world building aspect that you're interested in. But the idea of it is that it's an index of something specific within a base. This entire big base isn't going to be very helpful. To create your own Obsidian source index, you need to choose what particular source you're going to be focusing on. There are various options which your Obsidian base can display. You can choose to create an index of one of your folders, for example. You can see these folders on the side here. Or you can also choose to create an index using tags and file properties. I'm going to show you both methods, so hopefully you can choose which one will work best for you and your Obsidian Vault. To create a source index of one of your folders, you need to click this filter button on the right-hand side of your screen on the Obsidian base. When you click filter, you'll see that there are two options, this view and all views. We're going to focus on all views. This will define the whole Obsidian base, and then you can filter later on by using this view. Click on all views and make sure that this drop down is set to all the following are true. Then this needs to be file, where the file is. And instead of links to, just by clicking on links to, we can select in folder, and then a pop-up will appear with all of the folders and subfolders that you have. So I'm going to click on commemorations, which is one of my modules. And here we can see that we now have a base which contains a list of all of the files within my commemorations folder. Whilst this is a really useful overview, utilizing file properties will really help to elevate your bases. If you don't know what file properties are, I'm going to quickly explain them for you. By clicking on this properties icon again on the right hand side of your Obsidian base, you can see all the automatic properties that Obsidian creates each time you create a note. We've got creative time, we've got backlinks to the file. All of these ones that are marked with an I are ones that Obsidian creates for you essentially. Scrolling down this list of properties, we start to see more personalized properties that I have created for each of my notes throughout my Obsidian Vault. The great thing about properties is, again, you can personalize them to the uses of your index, of your vault, of the organization system that you have. Your properties do not have to be complicated, and I suggest that you start out just by adding tags to your notes. Let's create an example. By creating a new note, pressing Ctrl N, you can simply add a tag to an untitled note by using the hashtag key. Now, using the hashtag key, this comes up with a list of all previous tags that I've ever used. Let's say that this note is about George Orwell. I'm going to put the hashtag and I'm going to search person. This way, I have given my note a property, and the property that this note has is one tag, and that tag is hashtag person. Creating a property in this way allows Obsidian to gather data about the note you have created, so it can organize that data in a sources index, for example. To create other properties within your file that aren't just the automatic ones that Obsidian creates, you want to press the Control key and the colon key. This will add your properties to the note. Now, some of these are automatic, like aliases, CSS classes. I have never used those. But then we can see the ones that I have added. As a rule of thumb, as I said, I try to give all of my notes on Obsidian a tag. Again, we can see that these similar results to pressing the hashtag key show up. So again, I'm just going to add person, and then that tag is added, and I don't need to have it in the actual note. And what is great about properties is that you can hide them. If you have a really long list of properties, you don't need to be seeing them every time you open up your note. So that's a brief explanation of what properties are. Another way of showing the properties that a particular note has is by clicking this right-hand side panel. If you click expand, and I'm already on it, but for example, you have the outline which will show any headings. So if I were to add a heading of biography, this would show up on the note. You can see various things here, but if you press this I button, it will show you the different properties this note has. For example, if I was to post related 1984, you can literally see how that is adding this automatically onto the properties of the file. This is another really great way to add properties to your file and have an overview of what they are. Using these file properties that we have just learnt about using this example note, let's create a new base that will utilize these file properties to create a source index. So if we just press new tab and again go on this sidebar and click create new base, we're going to have an untitled base which again has no distinctions between what it is filtering out, so it just has a list of every single note on my Obsidian Vault. Similarly to how we did this last time, we're going to press on filter, all views, make sure that all the following are true is selected from this drop down. Then where the file is and click on links to, and instead of clicking in folder, we're going to be using has the tag, and here we can select from which tag we want to do. So for example, let's use reading. We now can see that this base has a list of all my reading notes that I've done. I have 510 readings. To make this more interesting and useful, let's use the properties tool to add more information about each specific note on this source index. Clicking on properties on the far right, we can then select which properties we want to show. You can choose some of the ones that Obsidian has created for you, such as the time it was created and the date. However, I'm going to focus on ones like the author. I'm also going to click on module, whether any of these notes have been assigned to a particular module. I'm going to add the year that these were published. Looking through, I'm also going to add the region, related information, the source, and the source type. Clicking away from properties, we can see that now the base looks very different. Using the top headings, we can adjust the size of the columns, creating a smaller year column, making the file name bigger if we want to see more of the title, and then scrolling across, you can be able to see the whole base. Now, scrolling down, you can see that some of my reading notes, and actually quite a lot of them, don't have specific properties that are put into the note. This is because I started using file properties about only 2 years into my Obsidian Vault, and so not all of them, the ones I was creating from the very start, didn't have all these properties. They simply just had the hashtag reading. However, the great thing about bases is that if you input a property onto the base, it will show up on the file. So let's pick this one, Rosenstone Robert History on Film. You can see that this only has the year and it has the author. If I navigate back and let's find the file here, we can add the module as historical thinking. If I press enter, and now click on this note, you can see that it has added the property of module and it has added historical thinking. The reason I knew this was from historical thinking was I could see on the linked mentions, it was mentioned in a historical narrative seminar and in my historical thinking module. This is what's really awesome about Obsidian. By seeing all these linked mentions, all these backlinks and outgoing links, you can start to form connections between sources, concepts and ideas. So the source index is a fabulous example of this. If you want to be sorting by region, you can simply click on region and then it will sort all of the region tags that are on this property by alphabetical order. So we can see Algeria, Asia, Caribbean, East Africa, lots on Egypt since that's my dissertation topic, and going down until we get to the notes which don't have a particular region. Another great one to organise by is year published. We can see what the oldest note is, 1792, which is Mary Wollstonecraft. All these things just become so interesting and useful for when you are taking a massive inventory of your Obsidian base. I hope this video was helpful and it helped you to have some inspiration and perhaps create your own source index for your Obsidian vault. If you have any more questions, make sure to comment them below and give this video a thumbs up if it helped you. If you want to see more of my Obsidian videos, I have a full playlist on Obsidian for uni students, and stay tuned for future videos explaining more of my setup and tutorials on how to create certain note pages on Obsidian. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.